Hey everyone, welcome to CartelFiles. My name is Adrian, and today we're going to walk you through a step-by-step process of designing a file that's ready for laser processing. So let's get started. As you can see here, I've got my trusty Design Chooser 9000 tool opened up, and what this is, it's basically a list of all the different design ideas that I've come up with, and it's going to choose one at random for us. If you have any design ideas that you think I should add to the list, please comment them down below. But here we go, let's click and see what we are designing today. Robin, okay, from movies and characters category. Cool, so this is obviously Batman and Robin. I don't really remember what he looks like. Robin, Batman, oh that's right. So he has like this red shirt on, mask, yellow cape. In some of these it's a bit different, but I think maybe we go with like the cartoon version. Oh, the Lego version. I like that. That'd be a cool design. Oh yeah, this is not bad. That's a good like perspective of him. Let's see if we can find a good Lego image of him. Yeah. Not bad. Let's go back to the previous image. Seems like there's more front-on versions of that. Yeah, that looks good. I like this this version better because the hair in this version is going to be kind of difficult to recreate. This is more smooth. I think we'll go with this photo. All right, so let's copy that image and head over to CorelDraw. This could be done in Illustrator or anything else, but I'm just working with Corel today. And we'll just paste that on the screen. All right, so in cases like this, the first step I always like to do is let's get it in black and white. Okay, so the colors can get a bit distracting. It's also easier to see like the lines and stuff like that. So let's head over to bitmap, mode, and grayscale. So it's just this option here. And you can see that he's now in a grayscale image. And when designing stuff like this, I always lock the image, because you can see if you accidentally move something around, the image may get selected and move all over the screen. So I always right-hand click and I go down to this option here, lock, and that just locks the image so I can't accidentally move it. All right, cool. So first thing that I would probably do here is maybe move from top down. So we start at the head, and we kind of flesh out the head shape, maybe the mask and hair and the mouth first, and then we sort of work our way down. So let's try that. Probably the easiest thing is we start off with like a rectangle for his head. So if you go to the right hand side, you can choose the rectangle tool there, and pull out a rectangle that's roughly the size of his head. Okay, so we can kind of massage that to roughly the right size. I think what I'm gonna do is have the Lego design inside of maybe a coaster or something. So, you know, fine detail doesn't really matter. Obviously, if this is going to be a big, large scale display or image, yeah, the fine details would matter more. But I think if we stick to maybe like a coaster design or something like that, yeah, the imperfections doesn't really matter. And something like this is, we're going to take some liberties. So let's go with this. Okay, cool. So we have a square. The first thing I want to do is round those corners. So if I choose that square, up here you can see we have corner radius option. Let's try maybe 10 millimeters as our option. And you can see it's created a square here. that's probably a little bit too much radius. Let's change that to maybe, let's go to maybe 8 millimeters. How's that look? Yeah, that's probably about right. We could go a little bit less, maybe 7. Yep, I think that's fine. As I said, details are going to get, we're not going to see all these tiny little details. All right, so next thing I'd probably do is work on the face, this mask design. I can see that this cutout sort of has a circular shape, so I'm going to use the circle tool and just, and just stretch out a circle to sort of fit that shape that I need. I may need to extend this a little bit. There you go. That kind of follows that shape, and I guess the bottom is roughly the same. I kind of did something really cool that I didn't explain. If you have a shape, let's say we've got a circle here, okay, and I want to make a duplicate of this circle. So I can click on the circle to select it, and then I can drag it away. So now you can see there's a blue outline following my cursor. If I then right-hand click with my mouse and let go, you can see it makes a duplicate of the circle. Super handy when you're making things like this. So let's see. Now what I want to do is I probably will select the 3-point curve tool here. And I want to come in and just follow these curves here. So create like a sort of teardrop shaped curve, something like that. And you can see there's these sort of harsh corners here. I'll show you how to fix them in a minute, but I'm going to use that duplicate trick again. Come up to the top up here and flip that horizontally. Delete the old one that we don't need, and you can see now that's the sort of shape of that eye under control. And let's now just fix up, or we'll draw in the outside of the mask now. So 3-point curve again, choose a point, a starting point, and remember this is going to be so small that these sort of details don't really matter. These sharp corners, we'll fix them up in a minute. And I'm just using the 3-point tool to sort of get the rough shape of the mask. All right, so another thing that we can do is if we go to the top up here under Window, Dockers, and click on Objects, you can see that this opens a new panel on the right hand side. Okay, and under Layer 1, you can see all the different curves and this bitmap option here. So the bitmap is the image of the Lego guy. If we click on the little eye symbol over here, okay, that'll turn him off. And that lets me just, sort of focus in on this part of the design that we're doing. So what I want to do is on this option here, under the crop tool, if you click and hold, you can see there's an option for the virtual segment delete tool. This is one of my favorite tools. Let's select that. And what it allows us to do is draw a box, or you could click on any of the lines that you don't want in your design. So I want to delete those 2 parts of the circle. Okay. And now what we can do is we can select all of this, this curve that we've made, right-hand click and press combine. See that option here? And what that does is now this is all one object. You can see it in the object panel over here. It's now all one curve. Okay. So now that it's all one curve, what I would like to do is just fix up these sharp corners. Okay, so double clicking on the curve opens up the nodes panel, and I can select a box around the node, and we can come up here to an option called smooth node. See that? So when I click that, you can see that it's now smoothed out that node. And that may be a little bit too harsh of a smoothness. So what we can do is we can play around with these handles instead. Okay, to give us that sort of nice smooth curve. That looks okay. And this this tighter section here where the two nodes intersect, maybe we can try use that smooth node option again. And yeah, that came out much nicer. So we'll do the same thing in this section here, and boom, looking good. All right, now if I turn on that bitmap again, you can see that it sort of has this black outline on the inside of the mask and the outside of the eye holes. So to accomplish that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that curve again. Okay, and if we go up to effects and contour, the shortcut is Control F9. We can add an offset. So let's maybe, yeah, 1 mil offset probably seems reasonable. Let's hit apply. And you can see now it's created an offset. It's a little bit too big. So maybe let's go to 0.5. Let's see what that looks like. And yeah, that looks about right. So if we turn that bitmap back on, you can see we don't want this outside line, but we'll keep the two inside lines and the line around the eyes. I think that looks fine. So as you can see, we've got a contour. If I just zoom in here, you can see we've got the main curve. We've got the main curve and then a contour object attached to that. So what we want to do is click on this curve, right-hand click, and press break contour apart. Okay, so now you can see there's two individual curves. If I turn the image back off, we want to keep these two inner lines from the mask, and we want to remove that outer line. So again, we'll go up to the virtual segment delete tool and delete that outer line. And there we go. So now the mask is complete, and that looks pretty good. Let's do the same for the mouth. So I'll go through this kind of quickly because you just saw how I did the mask. I'm going to do something very similar with the mouth. Okay, just outlining the mouth. Come in and do the inside part of the mouth. So I like to do sort of two lines parallel with each other and then create that sort of curve at the bottom. The top one just less of a curve. I want to center that a little bit more. And then what I want to do is create a joining piece here. And normally what I do in cases like this is I create a circle. Okay. And it's all sort of by feel, right? There's no sort of perfect way to do this. It's just whatever feels right. And what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that this circle is going to, match up with the top line, and it's also intersecting this bottom line. That's how the virtual segment delete tool works. So when we go to delete these lines that we don't want, as long as they are overlapping in some fashion, we can remove them. Okay. If you're trying to do it and it's deleting the whole circle, it means that it's not intersecting any lines. All right, so let's delete all the lines we don't want. Okay, and we're left with a bit of a smile like that. Again, we're going to do a smaller circle for this inside section. Okay, And I'll probably do something like that. That looks nice. Okay. And we're just creating a nice curve like this. Now, let's just say, in this case, it's his mouth. It's quite a simple design, but I'm going to show you another little quick trick. Let's say, for example, this mask. If we were doing this mask and it's a bit more complicated, there's a lot of parts that we need to spend a lot of time on to make it look perfect. If it was a symmetrical thing, so his mouth, for example, is a symmetrical thing, and I didn't want to come in and put in all this other detail on the right-hand side, but I've completed the left-hand side. What I would do is I can come over here and choose the 2-point line tool. Okay, find the midpoint of it and put a vertical line just like this. Can you see that? I'd come over here and delete with the virtual segment delete tool the right hand side or the left hand side, the other side of the design that I haven't done yet. Then remove that line. Select everything. So just like this, select everything. Control C, Control V, or edit copy, edit paste. And then I can choose this option right here, mirror horizontally. And that makes a flip in the horizontal direction. And then I choose the one node and I snap it to the other node. So let me just zoom in so that's a bit more clear. You can see here I choose this node and I grab it so I can move this curve and I snap it to that other curve there. Okay, so we just move it like that. And there we go. We've quickly and easily made a design change. And I think that looks okay. We will definitely spend a little bit more time cleaning up the file. But for now, that's good. Cool. So let's turn our image back on. What I like to do is once I finish sort of a section, I group that all together. Okay, so in my design on the right hand side or my objects panel on the right hand side, now that's all one group. All right, let's turn the image back on and let's now work out the hair section. So for this, I probably use that 3-point curve again, and I start somewhere down here. So I start creating this curve, and you can see the hair sort of comes back on itself. So I'll try and recreate that, give it some zhuzh, I guess you could say. And again, for something that's going to be the size of a coaster, this sort of detail doesn't come through. All right. Something like this looks pretty good. Yeah. And I just want to delete that extra line that's gone over. Cool. I also want to do his hair on the inside. So let's do that. You can see it kind of comes in like this. There you go. All right, let's turn the bitmap off and see where we're at. Okay. I think what I want to do is have his hair, because in the image it looks like his hair, looks like his hair comes over the glasses. So I think I'll just fill that in really quick. Okay, so as I said, I wanted the hair to go over the glasses, so I'll use my segment delete tool again to remove any of those sort of lines that we don't need. We also don't need this line that goes through his hair. And now we've completed the head. And I think that's going to be sort of the hardest part. And that looks good, I think. All right, let's continue on. The rest is pretty simple. We're going to just use another square. And I reckon I kind of like this curve that comes down from his head. I don't want to interfere with that. So I will extend this rectangle into his head and delete that top section so I still have that nice round curve there. And then his body is basically going to be a couple lines. So let's continue on. If you hold down Shift while doing this, you can see it snaps at 15-degree increments. I want a nice straight line from his shoulder, or from his neck over to his shoulder. So let's do that. And the same on this side. Okay. And then I'll come in and do these radius corners later. In fact, what I'm going to do is, like I showed you previously with his mouth, I'm going to do half his body and then I'm going to flip it. So I'll just go through this pretty quickly. But the steps are basically the same. So I'm going to create some lines here, sort of where his body, where his body is. You can see his legs sort of flare out a little bit. Come back in and we can fix all that up later. Again with the 3-point curve, let's do his arm now. So this is always the tricky part, getting this sort of perspective right on this curved surface. This is going to be interesting, but I think something like that. Something like this. Don't really like that position of that node, so maybe we'll come up, make that a bit straighter. Okay. Again, 3-point curve would come out a bit. And then we can come down. And then down like this. Cool. We can finish out his arms. And again, I'm just going through this pretty quickly. I'd probably spend maybe another 20 minutes or so cleaning this up. But let's just race through this for the sake of the video. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. We want to do this sort of perspective drawing on the hands. Want a tiny bit of a curve there, not too insane. And then you can see this sort of shadow here starts about there. That gives you some nice perspective. All right, let's have a look. Let's turn the bitmap off and see what we've got so far. So that's looking pretty decent, I think. That looks all right. So what I would do at this point now is let's do some of these fillets here. So what we can do is let's have a think what the best way to do this is. I think probably just the 3-point tools is going to be fine. We want this to be a nice radius fillet here, sort of in line with what the image look like. I just turn it back on so you can see what I mean. Yeah, like there's no sharp corners. It's all rounded edges here and here. So turn that back off. We can finish that up like that. And like that. I think that looks pretty good. Another trick that I do is when I'm copying and pasting stuff, because what I'm going to do now is I've got the half of his body done, and it's going to look weird if I don't mirror it and copy it. It's going to look like, you know, the two sides aren't perfectly the same, and for something like a Lego, it should be very similar. So I can choose a midpoint, let's say the middle of that, that line that I've put across his body, and I can pull that down. Now when I select everything, I also include this line. So I copy, paste, and again I use the mirror horizontal option to create a copy that's mirrored of the body that I've just designed. So because I've got this line, now what I can do is I can choose that node point at the bottom and snap it to the other line, and it's going to be perfectly aligned now. I'll remove those two lines that I don't need, and I just remembered that I also need to round out this this section down here, but that's going to take a couple seconds. I don't quite like that. That looks okay, and I think this line should also be curved slightly. Yeah, that looks okay. So again, what I'll do is I'll select those two lines, copy, paste, mirror, and then I can bring that over onto this side. And because it's a perfect mirror, it's going to fit that curve very, very nicely. All right, so now that looks pretty good. What else are we missing? Another thing is I always group after I've done some major work. Let's turn the bitmap back on. Okay, so we can see that this side of the image doesn't match perfectly with our design, and that's basically because the image is not in the same perspective. It's not perfectly straight on, but that's okay because our image will look flat when it's laser engraved. All right, so now I think we just need to finish off his cape. So what I want to do is come, sort of just above his neck. Follow that along with the 3-point tool again. And this looks like a very nice curve to use that 3-point curve tool on. It follows it quite nicely. Oh, didn't like that. Let's do that again. And then we can come across something like this. How's that look? No, not too happy about that. Okay, so in this case, I think what I'll do is I'll make a copy of the cape and flip it as well, because I didn't quite like how it sat. That looks good to me. I'll just delete the lines that we don't need, which will be all of these lines. I believe that should be it. Yep. And I probably just smooth out this line. You can see there's a little bit of a bump here. I don't know how obvious that is on video, but again, if I just want to clean that up, I double click on it, select that node, and just smooth that node out a little bit. Same on this side, smooth that node. And I think what we need to do first is combine. Then we can double click, choose that node, join these two nodes, select that node, and then smooth. There you go. So that looks pretty good. I think we're missing some details. I think I want to put in his leg, where his feet are, and his the details on his shirt. So let's quickly do that. I think because his cape kind of comes down here, and that's sort of in line where his foot is, I'm going to deviate a little bit from the image and make his foot sort of exist a bit lower than what it is. Let's have a look what that looks like without the image. Yeah, you can see that looks a bit better. We need to curve these bottom portions of his feet as well. I think they look a little out of place given that everything else is sort of curved. So what we can do, there's an option up here in Windows Docker, and it's called, where is that little bugger? It's called corners. Can you see that option here? So it's under Windows, Dockers, and then down here, corners. And gives us this little toolbox. Okay, and I want to use the fillet tool here. So I will select, how do we do this again? We select this line, I believe, and we need to ungroup everything first. So ungroup all, and select this line and this line, and we create a 1/2 mil fillet. Apply. Oh, these two lines are not touching. That's a problem. Okay, then we can't use the fillet tool. We need to first connect those two, but just to speed things up, I'm just going to use the 3-point curve tool, and we'll just make a curve that sort of curves that off. That looks fine. Copy that, paste it, flip it horizontally, pull that across. I'm using the shift tool as I've moved this curve, and let it snap to the node, and that way it's going to be perfectly aligned with that previous curve on the right hand side. Then I can just copy those two lines, excluding the bottom line, copy, paste, and then same thing again, click, hold down shift, and as I pull that across, you can see they now line up perfectly with this leg. Remove all those lines, and that looks nice. Cool. All right, the last part is let's put all the details on his suit. All right, turn the bitmap back on, and you can see this is relatively easy. I might lock the drawing of him as well, so I can't accidentally move anything. And you can see, let's start in the center. So let's do a circle here. Okay, that's going to be his belt buckle, the inside of his belt buckle. Then there's another circle on the outside, which is just a little bit larger. Then he's kind of got these curves that move sort of from the center section all the way out. Okay, same with this part here. And then here we've got a bit of a curve down, and then a curve, sort of a compound curve, down and then up. And we can just copy that same curve down to here, and that same curve down to here. And we'll line those two up. Double click to choose the node. All right. Again, we're going to clean all this up, so we can be rough with all of this. Now to sort of make these lines in his belt, I would probably use the 2-point line tool, click and pull down, and then you can grab that line. And because we started on the left hand side, you can see it's much taller than the lines on the right. So when we pull this across, it should be able to reach the top and the bottom line. So, you know, we can just cut off the excess. In fact, I'll just make that a little bit larger so we can ensure that that happens and we don't have to be too exact. So let's just pull out those lines. And again, I'm using that trick that I showed you in the beginning. Choose the line, pull it out. You can see that blue copy, right hand click, and then drop. And then you can just quickly make a whole bunch of different lines like that. Let's turn off the bitmap again, and you can see we've got the lines extending past the past those curves. Let's just cut them all off. Oops, bit too eager there. Cut them all off. All right, and now we can just copy that, flip it onto the other side. Just work a bit faster. I also noticed that this line is needs to be deleted too. So let's get rid of that. We can lock that again. And all right, so now let's choose all of that. Control C, Control V, and flip. That creates this. And maybe I'll turn the bitmap back on just to help me align it a bit better. Oops. Let's zoom in and snap that to where it needs to go. The circle is not a perfect circle, so we just need to adjust these nodes so that they touch where they need to go. And same on this side, but it looks like they all exceed on that side. That just shows that there's a little bit of perspective in this photo. That's why nothing's really lining up perfectly, but that's all right. We've done the belt now, so I always tend to just group things, right? Once I've finished with a section, I group it. All right. Lastly, let's do these buttons and the logo. So let's grab these buttons. I think they need a bit of a radius on them as well. Yeah, that looks okay. I can show you a quick tool. If you select that button, for example, and we want to move it down an exact amount, as long as you don't have anything selected, you can see here there's a nudge distance. Can you see that? This nudge distance here. And that's going to be how much we nudge this item when we use the arrow keys. So let's go maybe, I don't know, 2 millimeters. I'm just guessing. Select it, Control C, Control V to make a copy, and then nudge it down. Okay, so 2 mil was way too small. Probably 6 mil is about right. So let's go copy, paste, 1, 2, 3, copy, paste, 1, 2, 3. There you go. Now we've got a perfectly evenly distributed set of buttons. And then lastly, let's do this R here, the logo for Robin. So I kind of guess start about there, make this curve like this. And I hope you guys spend a little bit more time on your designs. I'm rushing through this just for the sake of speed of the video. Or maybe you guys are faster than me. Who knows? If you find that I'm not as quick as you, put it down in the description below or in the comment section below. I'd like to know how you what your technique is to be a little bit quicker. I always like to improve. All right, so the only part of this logo that I don't like is this node. I think this could be done a little nicer. Maybe we can try smooth it a bit. Oh, yep, that looks all right. This curve, can we smooth that, or will it go a bit too crazy? That looks all right, I think. Cool. Let's turn that bitmap back off. And how are we looking? That looks nice. I think that I'm really happy with that. There seems to be a double line here, but I'll come back and clean that later. So perfect. All right. The last step we want to do is, because this is going to be a coaster, I'll unlock everything group all the curves together, and I want to create a rectangle, or a, actually more of a square around him. Okay, and I think this has to be a square, so maybe something like 100 mil by 100 mil size. That's roughly the size that I want for the coaster, which means he has to be smaller. So let's make him maybe 80, oops. Let's make him maybe 80 mil tall. So he fits nicely within the coaster. I always change the outside line to a different line to show that that's going to be the cut line and the score line will be the red. And we don't want square corners. Let's go maybe 12 mil. Yeah, that looks good. So that's our coaster design. I'm pretty happy with that. Now what I'm going to do is just going to spend maybe 5 or 10 more minutes just muck around with it and get it perfect how I like it, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what the final result looks like. All right, I'm back. I finished playing around with it, and I've just made the file a bit cleaner. I also added where I got this this reference image from. Okay, so if anyone wants the original image, this is the link for it. And I always like to do that just to mention the original creator. So now that I've finished the design, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that to CartelFiles. So if you want this exact file, please go to CartelFiles.com. You can download this file, or if you want to, you can follow along the video and produce the file yourself. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. That'll really help me out. And in the next video, I guess we now have to make a Batman. All right, I'll see you in the next video.